Oh, it's wobbly.
Okay,
All right.
so you're on.
Are we on?
You're on. I'm gonna get
Nice. Nice. Well, thanks for letting us come hang out with you guys tonight. She gave us a really nice introduction, and we're going to tell you our story now and kind of dispel some of it. Just kidding.
No.
This is my wife, Kim. We've been at Freedom for almost 2 years. Well, it's been 2 years now. And
Something like that.
yeah, it's been 2 years. But we've been married for
23 years in August.
there we go.
Way to know that, Jeremy.
20. She had to think about it too. We've been married for 23 years, but we actually met when we were. I was a sophomore in high school, and she was a junior in high school.
Yep.
Back in 1996. So we were just joking. Our relationship is 30 years old.
But yeah, so Jeremy was joking that our friendship is older than all of you.
Yeah.
So, do you want us to shut that blind back there?
Yeah.
There's like two people that can't see. It's like right spot on them. Yeah, I don't know. In fairness to Jeremy, on the wedding anniversary, though, he's actually better with that stuff than I am. So
We also moved it 4 times, so that didn't help.
yeah. No, but he's usually the first one to be like, "Happy birthday, happy this, whatever," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah." So
It's true. So we were 16. I was a sophomore in high school. Kim was a junior in high school. We were both pretty much, I think we're 60 days apart in age. And we met because we worked at Target together. So it's a great way to meet somebody. And so I grew up in church my whole life. When I was 2, my parents got saved. And when I say grew up in church, I literally mean grew up in church. So my parents were elders and teachers at our church. And so we would go Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. And then I was in school Monday through Friday at our church. And then my parents started like a Bible class on Thursday nights, and for years I was in church like every single day, pretty much all the time. And so my experience with God is a little bit different from yours. You can tell
yeah.
me.
So we didn't really grow up in church. So when I was like, we were military, so we moved a lot. So when I was like really young, the Baptist church used to send a little short bus around to pick us up. And so my parents would sleep in because they'd been partying the night before. And me and my sister got to be out of their hair on Sunday morning. So we went to the Baptist church for a little while. And then probably like middle school age, we started going to a Methodist church on a regular basis. And I really don't have much to say about that. I don't remember much from it. I don't feel like I learned a lot. I mean, it was very different.
I went to the church with her, and the controversy was one guy would put his hand up during half of one song, and then he would put it down for the rest of worship.
This is true, yes. And now at the time, the Methodist church was not as progressive as it is today. But now it's probably one of the most progressive denominations within Christianity in terms of being open to
Yep.
all the modern
Everything.
culture stuff.
Yep.
So,
Which
yeah.
is not what we came here to talk about. But
So yeah, he grew up all godly and I grew up all worldly, and
yeah, we met, and 3 months later.
so I was the bad girl, not
Yeah.
the bad guy.
Well, and so we met and we went on a date, and then 3 months later I'm working at Target, and she's like, "Hey, can I come in on your break? I got to tell you something." And so this is how I remember it. I'm sitting here eating my food on my break, 16 years old, not even a junior in high school yet, and I take a drink, and she goes, "I'm pregnant." And I go, "Oh," and I just kept drinking, right? I just kept drinking, you know, in the movie when they just take a long, keep guzzling all the way down and pretend like they didn't hear what happened. But we were pregnant after 3 months of knowing each other, 4 months of knowing each other, roughly.
Probably about right. Yeah, we
Yeah.
met like late spring and we got pregnant in August
Mm-hmm.
and found out late September that I was pregnant.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that was pretty similar. And then like, if any girls have been in this situation in this room, then you'll know we took tons of pregnancy tests to just confirm that yes, we indeed were pregnant, because they didn't keep changing. And then we went to a pregnancy center to confirm it, and we were indeed pregnant. That's finally when it sunk in that yes, this was happening. So by this point, I was starting my senior year, or I was in my senior year when we found out, and he was a junior. And we went home to his house, and we were saying our goodbyes in the streets, and your dad saw us out the kitchen window. And when you walked in, your dad knew. The Holy Spirit had told his dad that we were pregnant. So his dad knew going into it.
Yeah.
My dad was like, oh, well, that's not too bad. I thought it was like AIDS, which was a big deal back in the late 90s. I thought you were probably crying about like maybe you had AIDS or you got in a bad crash or, you know, like something. And he's like, so that's not too bad. Side note, my mom and my sister and all the women in my family had been pregnant by the age of 17. So kind of wasn't all that much of a shock, although I was the most pure, I guess, of my family. So it was in that way because they weren't aware that we were active. Yeah. So
Yeah, and my family was the opposite. Nobody got pregnant outside of, you know, as a teenager. So it was different.
We started it. Your sister ended up pregnant out of
She did.
wedlock too after
Yeah, but
us.
she was older. Doesn't matter. She got pregnant 2 months later, but she was 3 years older. But
She was,
so we're 16, 17, pregnant, and terrified. Can you
Yeah.
guys imagine? I mean, most everybody was like, how are you guys going to survive? You can't keep the baby. That would be insane. For us, you know, abortion was never an option, but adoption was kind of an option for her.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't the right fit. So our daughter's actually 28 years old, and she'll enter in the story a little bit later too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're 45, and we have a 28-year-old daughter who feels sometimes almost like a younger sister because she's so close in age to us.
Yeah.
The one funny part about the story is her, you know, she said her dad was in the military. Her dad built bombs for a living. So I used to joke with people every time I started my car, I'm like praying, oh God, please don't blow up, because I got his daughter pregnant.
It's true. We did have like empty shells and stuff around the house.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I think, so from finding out we were pregnant in high school to with him having 2 years left and me having 1 year left, I was due at the end of, or beginning of May. So I was like, that's okay. I can finish my senior year and get through it. He was kind of like, am I going to be able to play football again?
That was the most important thing in the moment. And the answer was no.
Yeah. So we did tell our families, and both families were really accepting. And I think, like he said, adoption was an option for me. But he was like, no, that's not an option for me. So if you adopt the kid out, then I'm taking the kid. That's not happening. I'll just be a single parent. And I was really stubborn. So I was like, no, like that's weird. If you're going to be involved, then I'm going to stay involved. So it was just, we ended up keeping her. But through that, we broke up.
Like a month later.
A month later, from the stress of teenage pregnancy, but also Jeremy's faith. He was 17 and didn't really know how to share it. And he was trying to share with my family. Keep in mind, we were not really all that educated on church things or religion. And he was trying to explain how Satan is in the world and has not control, but
dominion over the world.
Dominion over
also,
the world.
I made the mistake of saying it was sinful for us to have sex outside of marriage, and then they took it as, you think this baby's a product of sin?
Yeah, like we were having a bastard child.
Yeah.
So he told my family and me that, like, basically our baby was Satan's child and that he was in control. And so
He
that
didn't
didn't
say
really
that.
go over all that well.
He didn't say that.
Now, as a believer, I know what he was trying to explain, but at the time, I was like, this is too much for me.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is
Crazy.
crazy. And he had told me about, like, his churches growing up where they, like, play the tambourines and dance in the aisles and all of this. And so,
Pray in tongues like crazy people.
with all that information, and then, like, Satan's child, basically, like, feeling that's, like, what he was saying, we ended up breaking up.
Yep.
So-
So we were apart during the pregnancy, and when our daughter was being born, I always knew I was going to be there, and so I was there for the birth, and then we got back together because having a kid, as you'll someday experience, is pretty bonding and a big moment, and so we got back together again for about a year, and then we broke up. We thought for
Permanently.
good, permanently. So we broke up a year
was
later. So
14 months.
our daughter was 14 months old.
Yeah.
And so when we broke up that time, we ended up going to court 4 different times over the next 2 years. It was wild. Tons of stories in that we're not going to share, but we really had a lot of animosity towards each other, and
Lies and deception on my part to harm him further. I was like, no, he's never helped with the kid when he'd been helping all along. So he ended up having to pay like child support in arrears
yeah,
for many years.
like a $10,000 child support in arrears when I'm 18.
Yeah. But yeah, so Jeremy was,
Pretty upset. So after
I wasn't a Christian, you guys. Not at that point.
Yeah. And in fairness, I have always had a lot of like rage and anger issues. For anyone who's ever dealt with that, like I feel like my blood boils and I can feel it rising through my body and then it just explodes. And when you're 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, you don't know how to control that. Even now, sometimes it can be a little bit harder to control. And so, like, I never hurt her, but like I would get so mad I'd like punch the wall or hit my head on the window or something just to get a release, and it freaked her out, rightfully so. If anyone's doing that, they shouldn't do that. So, you know, there was a lot of immaturity on both of our parts, and so, it's kind of crazy. So, I had given my life back to God when we broke up and started going to church again, and one of the times we were sitting in court, and this is really funny, I remember sitting there, my attorney's sitting here, Kim's sitting over there, and her attorney's there, and I remember,
We've got to back up.
okay, back up.
It's essential though. So one of the major court battles was for me seeking permission to move my daughter and I out of state to Alaska. So we're not just talking, you know, Wisconsin across state lines. Like, this is
Alaska.
a 6-hour flight to Alaska. And he was not in favor of that. So we ended up getting permission and did move to Alaska. But that's kind of essential.
Sure.
I think it was during that
It probably was. I don't remember which time
court
because we were
battle
in court
that
so
this
much.
happened. But
But yeah, so when I was sitting there, I remember God said to me, she's your wife. And I'm like, I am not. Nope, she's not having it. So she gets permission to move to Alaska. So she goes up to Alaska with Christina. Christina's 3 years old. Someday you guys will have kids. And when they're 3 years old, remember me saying this. If someone took your 3-year-old away from you, you would hate them. And I hated her with a vengeance. Even though I was trying to live for God and a Christian, like, you know how sometimes when you're believing and trying to follow Him, you still have a little bit of baggage and things you're dealing with. And so my hatred for her was very, very real. There's one story I remember. I was in my room and I'm listening to worship music and I'm praying and I'm just asking God to, to do whatever I was praying. I don't even remember what I was praying for, but I was praying and I remember the Lord said, "Kim's your wife." And I literally stood up, turned off the music, and I said this verbally in a room by myself. I said, "Jesus, if you walked through that door right now and look me in the eye and tell me to marry Kim, I'll look you dead back in and say, hell no." And I walked out of the room. That's how bitter I was. That's how angry I was over it.
23 years later.
23 years later. The other story is actually, there's a verse here we have. I don't know who's doing the verses, but the Psalms. Do you guys have that?
I don't know what verses.
I can just tell you if we don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. It's the only psalm. Yes, that one. Go back. 9. So, you guys, you can laugh at me. It's okay. I prayed this verse over Kim. And I remember sitting there one day just saying, okay, I read this verse and I'm like, okay, God, keep me from the snares they had laid for me and from the traps of the workers of iniquity. Go to the next one. Let the wicked fall into their own nests while I escape safely. I literally prayed that over Kim. So I have the distinction of being able to say, I have prayed that my best friend and the person I love and care about more than anyone in the entire world would have issues and fall into their own traps. Because the bitterness and the anger was just so real for me there. I've told you that before, haven't I?
No, that part I don't think
okay.
I've heard before.
That's fun.
Meanwhile, I'm in Alaska, like I'm 21 at this point. I'm living life. I'm partying. I'm going to the bars at night because I live with my parents. So they're like, I put Christina to bed and then I go to the bars at night and doing all the things a 20-something-year-old girl would do at the bars that's living in the world, you know, hookups and drinking and drunkenness and not really. I would have said, like, yeah, if somebody had asked, I would have said I was a Christian because I believed in God and I went to church when I was younger. But I definitely was not a Christian at that point in my life.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And
so he's over here praying this over me as I'm going to
Apparently
the
it was
bars at
working.
night.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I. So
It's
she was
taken
in
a long time to laugh about our story together.
Yeah, a little bit. It's been a long time. So Kim had been dating a guy in Minnesota that she was pretty confident she was going to marry. And after they had lived in Alaska, they were mandated to come back twice a year for 2 weeks, and then I was supposed to go up there twice a year for 2 weeks. And that was, my schedule with my daughter. And she came back after a year for one of her visits, and I think it was the second day. Excuse me, I'm sorry, guys. She's the second day, the guy who she thought she was going to marry called her and said, hey, I hate to break it to you, but I met somebody and I'm about to propose to him and I'm gonna marry this other person.
Yeah.
And then was it the same day or the next day your mom?
So my life at home had been falling apart. Like I knew my parents. My parents were thinking of being separated after 24 or something years. And they had said, we'll make a decision while you're gone. And when you get home, mom will either be moved out or we're staying together. And meanwhile, my boyfriend, John at the time, just names are easier, had said, no, I can't pick you up at the airport, which was really weird because he always had. And I couldn't find anybody to pick me up at the airport. And so I had no one to ask but Jeremy. And keep in mind, like, I literally did not talk to him. He would call to speak to Christina, and I'd be like, your dad's on the phone. I mean, we had no communication whatsoever. And so I had to, like, ask Jeremy to give me a ride, and it was super uncomfortable because I did not like this man. And I would say it was a mutual hatred at the time. And so I was like, hey, can you pick Christina and I up and bring me to where I'm staying? And you were well established in the church at this point. And he's like, yeah, I can do that.
I was praying scripture.
So we're on the way from the airport, I believe, to bring me to where I was staying. And our daughter said,
She said, I want to do something with mommy and daddy because
Yeah.
I've never done anything with mommy and daddy, just like that.
Yeah.
And when your 4-year-old says that to you,
yeah.
what are you going to do? You can't say no.
We like gave each other this really awkward side eye. Like you were driving your Camry at the time, I believe, your red one.
Sure.
And so yeah, I mean, we like, oh my gosh, how do we answer this? Because we don't talk, let alone do things together. But I will say the common thread for both of us has been to always do what we felt was in the best interest of our daughter. And so we both sucked it up and we were like, okay, kind of through gritted teeth. And we had decided the next day, I think, that we would go mini golfing together, right? With Christina. and so we went mini golfing, and in that time, Jeremy and I, trying to put on a fake friendship for our daughter, rediscovered that we actually really enjoyed each other's company. Like, he was really funny. And he liked me. I was, what,
I tolerated.
weird, quirky. I always say I'm funny, I'm quirky.
Yes, you're quirky.
So, you know, we found out, like, oh, we actually really do still enjoy each
We
other's
always have
company.
gotten along well when we don't hate each other.
Right. So when we're not focusing on parenting and we're just being like who we are as individuals, we kind of liked each other as individuals.
Yep.
And so we're driving home, and he says, well, tomorrow night, this church I go to is having
A family service.
service, and there'll be a puppet show and beach balls being thrown and a little message, and Christina will want to go. And she's got, all my friends are there, and she loves them. She barely knew them.
But that was after you found out all of the stuff with your mom.
Oh, that's right. So yes. So meanwhile, yes, my boyfriend had like revealed like, yeah, this is not going to happen anymore. And I was heartbroken by that. I'd been away for a year, but still very, very much in love with him. My mom had called me and been like, we're separating, I'm moving out. When you get home, I won't be here. I was like, what?
And I met a guy, and I'm moving to New Hampshire, and I'm going to live with him.
Yeah, and so I had gone out that night with my
Yeah,
high
it was
school
crazy.
boyfriend, or not my high school best friend who was a boy. And I had tried to soothe my heart with him, and he turned me down that night too, which was just another heartbreak. So I just felt like my whole heart, like life was crumbling before my eyes. So then Jeremy is like, hey, you want to go to this family service? And I was like, yeah, no. Because I'm like, I'm sure that all of your friends, your godly church friends, think I am like the biggest bee in the world. And he was like, oh my gosh, they would never treat you like that. Like, no, these people will treat you like they don't know any of the history. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not happening. But I did, again, for the sake of our daughter, and I had nothing else going on because apparently my world was falling apart.
That's the best way to get a girl. It's like when they have nothing going for
Yeah,
them.
listen up, single men.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
But really important. So I told you guys that God, this Holy Spirit kept telling me that I'm going to marry her and that she's my wife. And one of the times I remember God said, she's your wife, you're going to marry her. And I remember being like, you know what? She's not a Christian. Gotcha. I got God.
Yeah.
The Bible says, don't be unequally yoked. I'm like, yes, I just got God. It's over. She's not a Christian. I can't marry her. Ha, I'm going to find someone else.
Yeah.
So then we go to church.
Yeah, and at the end of the service, they do an altar call for the kids. But, you know, it's just like any church. They're like, if anybody feels led, you know, raise your hand, come up. Well, I was like, kind of, because I didn't want to be embarrassed, and I don't like putting myself out there. And Jeremy was like, you need to go up there. And I was like, no. And eventually he talked me into it. So then there's this like huge altar call line.
There's like 50 kids, and it's like 4-year-old, 3-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, Kim, 4-year-old, 3-year-old, 6-year-old. She was literally the only adult down there.
Yeah, and so.
And then God was like, ha ha.
So, which I actually find endearing now. I feel like it was God really, I mean, it really was God, because I love kids, and I feel like I relate to kids best. And I feel like, so it was just the fact that I got saved in a salvation call for children.
It's fitting.
It was just very fitting, and it's an important part of my testimony that I really enjoy sharing. But yes, so in an elementary line of kiddos, I got saved that night.
Yep.
And then I didn't know what that meant for my life, though. I was like, okay, I guess I'll find a church when I get back home.
So then we had another about 10 days of her being here, and we pretty much spent the entire time together. And on the last night, we like just had a conversation around God's clearly doing something here, because we started to have feelings again and started to fall in love, and And
He wanted to kiss me after a while.
she wouldn't let me. So, and then, and then we, you know, so she goes back to Alaska, and, you know, you guys, this is before text. Like literally, cell phones were the Razor flip phone. It was.
No, we didn't even have that.
We didn't
it was
even
like
have that.
Nokia,
That was the
Nokia
cool
thing.
one.
So,
But
it
so
was-
we would instant message. You guys, you know,
True, like
basically
AOL.
instant messaging all the time. We would talk, but both our jobs were pretty chill, and so we would instant message like all day long. And over the next 3 months, even though we had a lot of baggage and a lot of hurt and a lot of, you know, stress around our relationship, God just kind of kept bringing us back together. And we were both honestly pretty terrified, but we both actually felt like God was doing something. And so we were on the phone. We were on the phone, and we're just talking one night, and somehow marriage
It was
came
August.
up. It
was in August.
Somehow marriage came up, and I'm like, so are we going to talk about marriage? Because like we feel like God's doing something. And so we talked for a few minutes, and after a few minutes, I was like, so you want to get married? And she was like really
Super
dead silence
romantic.
on the phone, and all of a sudden she goes, yeah. And so, cutting some of the story out, so that fall I flew up and actually proposed to her with her parents, which is how she always wanted it. And I surprised her. She had no idea that was happening. And I convinced her it wasn't, and then I popped the question. So we got engaged.
My dad was very reluctant to give
Yes.
permission because he
Yes.
had paid for the attorney for all the lawsuits.
Yes. Yeah, and my attorney,
So he
guys,
was-
my attorney never billed me because he felt bad for me, and so he wrote it off. And so,
My attorney definitely billed us.
yeah, so I paid like $700 for 4 court battles, and her parents
Way
paid
more.
$10,000.
Yeah, so my dad very reluctantly gave permission. He was not happy that I was marrying this man. And
That continued.
meanwhile, I had gone to church and found a church up in Alaska that I was attending pretty regularly, got involved with a small group. God actually placed people in that group. There was 2 young ladies in that group that were originally from Apple Valley, Minnesota. I lived in Farmington. And so right next, and I was like, and then they actually knew one of the guys that we were friends with that worked at Target. So it was just really weird connection. But I was starting to get saved, or not saved, but like I was
Sanctified.
growing in my faith. So now I'm at home telling my parents that like, yeah, this is a Satan baby, right? Like Jeremy was right the whole time, like, you know.
That's why they didn't like me very much.
But no, I mean, I was sitting there like, I don't know, I just have this peace beyond all understanding that I'm supposed to marry him, and I can't explain it, you guys. And they were not understanding my faith. I was the first one of my family to get saved. And so they were like, now you're one of those crazies like him.
She is.
Yeah. So
Then, about 6 months later, they moved back down to Minnesota, and this was really a defining moment. So they moved back, and we were about a month before the wedding, and she came to me and she said, I just want to know that we're actually getting married because you want to marry me, not because you want Christina to live here, our daughter. And she said, so if you decide that we shouldn't get married, that you don't want to, I'm not going back to Alaska. I'm going to stay. And I didn't really process it fully in the moment, but it was that moment where I realized that this is exactly the kind of person that I want to marry. Because anybody who would be willing to do that shows their character. And so we got married. We were terrified. Terrified that it wasn't going to work out. And for how many years? Like 5 years? I was working at church, by the way, at this point. And for about the next 5 years, we had a relationship that was just kind of crazy up and down.
honestly, it felt like pure living hell. When I think of our first 5 years, I don't
was
have fond
tough.
memories
It was
at all
tough.
of our first 5 years.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, like everybody, you know, women, you go to the like wedding showers and they're like, give them advice. And it's like, oh, the first 5 years are the best. And so I'm like, if this is the best, I don't want this. But the night before our wedding, my mom had said, you guys won't make it 5 years. And I'm really stubborn. And so I was, damn, sorry. Oh, sorry.
You're getting a call from Terrence.
Like, if nothing, I am making it 5 years. So, truthfully, totally the wrong motivation. That was not God speaking to me in those moments. But that's truly, I fought through a lot of hardship in those first 5 years just to prove my mom wrong.
Yep. Well, and our daughter, Christina, if you look up the definition of strong-willed child, it's just a picture of her. It's not a definition. It doesn't tell you what it is. It's literally a picture of Christina. Because if she can be stubborn and get her way, she will. And if she can't, she will try and try and try and never stop trying.
If you've met Charlotte, Matt, and Shayna's
yeah.
daughter, that is our daughter.
Yeah. We told Matt and Shayna, we spent a day with Charlotte, and we're like, oh, it's Christina Jr.
So, I mean,
she's awesome, and we
amazing.
love that.
Yeah.
But it's just makes it more challenging. And considering we were 21 when we had a 3-year-old, and 25 when we had a 7-year-old, and 30 when we had a teenager, we're behind on every stage of parenting. Yeah. We're behind in every single way. Plus, we have all the baggage from our relationship, and so it just made our marriage really, 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 really difficult the first 5 years. And then it got better. It wasn't great, but it got better. And I was working at church, and God started calling us to leave. So at this point, remember, we were 17 years old, pregnant, never going to have a future. At this point, we're like paying our bills. We got extra money left over. We're even eating out.
Do you want to pause right now?
For what?
Q&A.
No.
Okay.
So we've got some extra money that we're having to be able to live a little bit. Like, hey, we need new tires on the car. We don't have to go ask our parents for a loan to buy them. Like, we were poor still at that point. But we were getting better. And then all of a sudden, God's like, hey, I want you to both quit your jobs and move out to Washington, D.C. and do some church planting with no guarantees of anything. And it was probably a 2-year
That's a whole really totally cool story of how God
Yeah, it is.
spoke to us, but we won't get, we don't have time to get into that story
No.
tonight.
But God
if
told
you ever
me-
want to know how God spoke to us on that,
Yeah,
just
God told
ask.
me and told her completely separate.
Yeah.
And then we came together and we're like, hey, I feel like God's telling me something. I'm like, me too. And I'm like, we're supposed to go to DC. And she's like, me too. And so it was totally a God thing. And so we sold our house, we packed all of our stuff up, and we moved out to Washington, DC to get involved with church planting. She was able to transfer her job out there, which was awesome because we had money. Not enough to live, but we had money. And then I got a job at Applebee's waiting tables. At this point, at this point, we're 30. We're 30, and we've kind of reset, and we don't necessarily know why. In hindsight, it's been so very clear why God brought us there. But at the time, it's pretty scary. And we're in a city where we don't know anybody. Our whole family's in Minnesota or Alaska. They think we're crazy still because we did this now. Other people think we're a little bit crazy. Some people are like, that's awesome, I'm never doing it, but you go.
So it's referred to as parachuting.
Parachute planting.
Where
you move somewhere where you don't know anybody.
Yeah, where you don't know anybody. And we had been going, can I say the church name?
Yeah.
Okay, we had been going to Living Word.
Oh, sure. That's where I worked, was Living Word in Brooklyn Park.
They did this whole send off for us, come up on Saturday and Sunday, all the services. My biggest fear is rejection and just judgment in general. And so I was like, well, finish the rest of the story, I guess.
Yeah.
We got to the point where we moved back.
Yeah, so after we had gotten connected with a church that plants a lot of churches. They actually started the biggest church planting conference in the world. It's called New Life Christian Center in Virginia. Awesome church, 3,000 people, 4 campuses. They're amazing. They were coaching us and supporting us and giving us money and helping us through the whole thing. And after we were there for a year, the pastor came to me and he said, if you feel like God has called you to plant a church in DC, you should stay and you should do it. But if you don't feel like DC is where you're supposed to plant, then you should go back home where it's a little bit easier because it's really hard to do. And so we prayed about it. And
no, we did not.
I prayed about it. She didn't. I prayed about it. She was terrified. And basically God said, you can do whatever you want. You can go back home or you can stay here. I'll bless it. I'll never forget those words.
I didn't pray about it because he didn't tell me about it. God spoke to him and he prayed about it. And then he came and was like, hey, God's telling us to move back to Minnesota. And I was like, no. And I was like, everybody's going to judge us. We failed. we said we were going to do something. We didn't do it. And so we failed, and I'm going to get judged, and then they're going to reject me. So that was like really huge.
Scary. So we moved back to Minnesota, and we went to what's called the Church Planting Assessment Center. So if you get into church planting, they have these assessment centers that evaluate you, and they say, hey, here's your strengths, here's your weaknesses, this is what we think you should do. So after packing our family up, moving back, doing all this stuff, planning the whole thing, we went to the Church Planting Assessment Center, and they're like, we don't think you should plant a church as the lead pastor. We think that you should help church plants and be involved and be on staff, do anything except for that one role. Oh, thank you. So, which was really, really hard, but then they give you like
Literally do anything but be a lead pastor.
Yeah. So, no, in a plant.
You'll be great.
In a plant. So, but anyways, they give you like a 8-page report about exactly why, and they said if you try, you're going to struggle with these 20 things, and we're like, yep, everything we were struggling with was exactly what they said. And so at that point, we prayed about it and decided we were going to help plant some churches, and so we had actually previously helped plant a church in Hopkins before we moved out to DC, from start to about a year and a half into it. And then when we moved back to Apple Valley, and we helped with three different church plants, Covenant and Mosaic counts. So 3 different church plants, so 4 total that we'd been able to help with. But in this time, God really showed us that the reason why he took us from Minnesota to DC was to get us out of our comfort zone. And if you know the story of Abram in the Bible, Abraham, when God called him out from his family to go on a journey, there was a purpose behind that, because it's a separation. And so, yeah, we went there thinking we were going to plant a church there, but God had other plans, which is okay, because I'm happy to follow God wherever and do whatever he wants, and it can work out however he wants it to. But I didn't feel that way in the moment necessarily, but now in hindsight, that's...
And I was okay with that too, as long as people didn't perceive me as failure and judge me for it.
Yeah.
And so that was the struggle of, I felt like a failure, therefore everybody else, of course, would think I'm a failure. Jeremy could care less what people think of him, so he's like, who cares? God told us to do this, so what do you care what they think? And meanwhile, all of this, like, I had gone through, from moving to DC, we were super stoked to move there. We get there, things are tough, and I fall into a deep, deep depression, one of the worst I've been in. And basically, I went to work 10 hours a day, and I came home and went to bed for the rest of the day, and didn't do much in between. And then we faced cheating, emotional affair. I guess I would say I had an emotional affair with somebody that I was working with, because home life sucked at that point, and I didn't want to talk to Jeremy about things. So it was a lot more fun to talk to this guy at work. My daughter was super depressed. She'd lost her best friend during that time from back here in Minnesota. And meanwhile, Jeremy's like, in my mind, living his best life up here in DC, just working at Applebee's and having coffee lunch dates with everybody. While I'm like miserable. This was my perception.
I know.
And then coming back to Minnesota, I was still in a deep, deep depression, because now I had failed. And so that depression didn't lift coming back to Minnesota. It was really strong still. So, yeah, I think that was a big part of my part of the story, has been that. Yeah.
Yep. So we've been through it in our marriage a couple of times. It's been challenging.
I eventually got counseling, therapy, and in that therapy kind of came to know myself again. And I finally come to know myself, and I'm not feeling so depressed, but I was starting to deal with some physical ailments, which was affecting our marriage. Meanwhile, Jeremy decides he doesn't want to be married anymore. So Jeremy comes to me one day and is like, I think I want a divorce. And I was, what?
So we had helped with this church plant in Lakeville, and we're 3 months into it, and the pastor texted me on Monday and said, I can't do this. I'm having a mental breakdown. I'm quitting. Church is yours. We had grown from 30 people to almost 100 people in 3 months. And then in December, we got that text where he's like, I can't do this. And so we had to meet with the church and tell them, hey, the lead pastor is stepped down, and we think we can still move forward, but we don't know. It's up to the people if they want to or not. And basically, the bishop, it was a Church of God denominational church, and the bishop told us that we couldn't tell anybody that Jeremy had got a girlfriend, was divorcing his wife, and moved in with his girlfriend.
Jeremy was the other
pastor's name was Jeremy too, oddly enough. But so we couldn't say any of this to the people.
This Jeremy had not done those things.
No, I had not. So we weren't able to tell anybody this. So what happened is the 30 or 40 leaders in the church blamed this guy for all of it. It was all my fault somehow. I had done something to cause him to not want to be there, and I was trying to steal the church and all this stuff. In the meantime, that's not at all what's happening, but we can't tell them the truth. And so basically the church ended up having to shut down. And then after about a month, everybody found out what actually happened. And then they were all like, I'm so sorry. We should have never attacked you like that. But it was over. But I kind of went into a pretty deep sadness and depression at that point too, because I had just had these people who we were pouring into for 6 months just turn on me dramatically. And
I would say we went through a time of true persecution at that point.
Someone created a Facebook account to trash us to everybody. Yeah. If you've never had that happen to you, it's super fun. So there's no name on it, there's no picture, but they're like, that guy sucks. And I'm like, why are we having this happen? It made no sense. And the elder over the church was like, I have no idea why this is happening, but so I went into a pretty thick depression. We stopped going to church at that point because that church shut down, and so we were kind of in between.
And you've never experienced any sort of depression, so you didn't even know what you were going through at that time.
Yep. And so I started having some girls flirt with me at work, and I was depressed. She was pretty sad. It was just a really rough time for us, and so that was when, the only way I know how to describe it, guys, for real, I knew the right answer, and I couldn't make the choice. It's like my brain had this fog in it that I just couldn't explain it. I met with a pastor, and he goes, well, why don't you, you're supposed to do this and this, and why don't you do this? And I'm like, dude, I know all of this. I've counseled people on this many times. I know all the right answers. I just can't bring myself to do it. And so I had made plans. I was going to move out, and we had been going to a church in Maple Grove called Mosaic for a couple weeks, literally a couple weeks. And that Sunday morning, Kim's like, just come to church with me. And I had actually planned on leaving on Sunday. I was going to move out on Sunday. And she's like, just come to church with me. So we go to church.
Let me just step in.
Okay.
God had really told me, like, this is a spiritual attack. This isn't Jeremy. This is a spiritual attack, and we need to fight it in the spirit. And so I had gone to a different local church where our daughter was attending youth group. They had a youth night. They were Holy Spirit filled, and I really just shared with them and dug in, and God gave me all these. I came home and I was like, listen, I'm telling your parents, I'm telling everybody, because we need prayer. And he's like, do what you got to do. I don't care. And so I did share, and I had everybody praying for you. I was praying for you, but obviously, in that moment as a wife, you're like, do I protect my husband's secret and what he's going through? Because it's not really my story to tell of his. Or do I spill the tea and let everybody know so that they can actually truly fight for him in faith? Because this is a spiritual fight. Mm-hmm. So go ahead.
Okay. So we go to church on Sunday morning, and at this point, if you were to ask me, what are you feeling? I would have been like, I feel like a loser, I feel like a failure. Everything I do in life just doesn't work out. I can't do anything right, just all this stuff. So we sit down in church, and our church that church played a video as a bumper video before the message. So every series had a video they would play, same video every time. So we sit down, they play the bumper video, and the bumper video goes, have you ever felt like your life just isn't turning out the way you want to? Maybe you feel like a failure and a disappointment. Maybe you just want to run away from everything. And at this point, she leans over and goes, I promise, I had no idea. And then she sits back up.
It's like this black and white, like retro type
Yeah.
bumper video of like a wife nagging
Yeah.
her husband. And I'm like, I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, he's going to think I somehow planned this. I
Yeah.
don't even know
Yeah.
these people, but it
Yeah.
was so spot on.
It was crazy. So the video plays. The pastor gets up there and preach. I don't know one word he said the entire time. I have no idea what he said because the whole time God was just speaking to me, and He was healing things. And we walked out of that room, and the fog was gone, and it was just a healing. And I'm so glad. Like, I went home and I grabbed Kim and I said, I'm not leaving. Listen, I'm making a decision right now that we said for better or for worse. So if it's for worse the rest of my life, it will be for worse. I'm not going anywhere. And I never have since then, this was it 10 years ago?
I think so.
10 or 11 years ago. Ever since then, I've had literally nothing but gratitude that God saved me in that moment, because nothing like really happened. All I did was make plans to leave, which is bad, but in my heart, I was just disconnecting. And God really saved me from that. And that was a
And then
big
my
pivotal
faith-
moment.
My faith tanked. I like super high faith for this, like, let's fight through the spiritual battle. And once I knew, like, he's staying, it was like this complete spiritual letdown within my body, not negative letdown, but just like release, I should say. And it was like, I've got nothing left to give. So then I kind of went through a period of disconnection of like, okay, you saved our marriage, now what? But I also didn't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
I was super insecure, always been insecure. And fear of rejection, my biggest fear, is like in my head every single day because he had wanted to divorce me. So that meant I wasn't good enough for him.
Okay. So, since then, I mean, obviously no marriage is perfect, but our marriage has been so much better. The last 10 years have been pretty incredible. Taking us on a little bit of a different track. When we actually met when we were 16, on our first date, we had talked about how we wanted to adopt kids one day. And so this was 10 years ago that happened.
We kind of went through like a season of like, just, I wouldn't say calm, but just kind of day-to-day life. There was no major
chaos.
things going on.
So through that church, through the church where that all happened, we started attending, obviously, because, you know, it's a great church. So we started going there, and a couple years into it, I got a phone call from the pastor, and he said, hey, there's this guy who called me. He's at a rehab center up north. He called me tonight because he put a gun in his mouth, pulled the trigger, and it misfired and didn't shoot him. And he's freaked out. But he came to our first service that we ever did, and so I'm going up there tomorrow. You want to come with me? So I went with him. A couple of other guys went with him, and we met Keith. And when I shook Keith's hand, the Lord said, that's your guy. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but that's my guy. So we started, he got transferred down to the cities, so I started picking him up and taking him out. He was about, 10 years younger than us, roughly. Started kind
Couldn't be more opposite.
Yeah, started kind of mentoring him. He was a total drug addict his whole life, basically. He had 2 kids at the time, and it was kind of crazy. So started doing that. Kim started connecting with his wife, and he moved back in with her. He got clean, moved back in with her. She got pregnant, and then he went on a binge because he just couldn't handle the stress of having another baby. And so he was actually on probation, and he was supposed to get like 10 years in prison if he violated his probation, which he did. And so she was pregnant, and she was telling people, I don't know if we should say this. No, I'm not going to say it. So she was telling people, I don't know how I can handle this. I don't know how I'm going to do this. But we basically got Keith checked into Teen Challenge so he could get some real help. And because of that, she ended up divorcing Keith. And so she's a single mom raising her 3 kids. So we were pretty involved with them at this point, with the kids.
On the mom side of things, as she's struggling with this pregnancy and a husband who's on a major bender and now in rehab.
It's being recorded and streamed.
No, I know.
Okay.
Myself,
What's that?
myself, the pastor's wife of our church at the time, and another woman came alongside her, and we were like, what do you need? This baby's life is worth it. And so what do you need in terms of support to help you and to help you be the best mom you can be? We want to be there. And she was like, I'm estranged from my parents basically, and I don't, I need a bigger car, I need a minivan because I don't have room. I mean, just some practical things, but also my kids don't have a grandparent. And so the one lady was like, okay, well then I'm adopting you. Your kids are my grandkids now. And that lady's kids were also drug addicts. And she's like, I don't see any natural grandkids in my life coming anytime soon. So why not adopt yours, informally. To this day, she's still Grandma Wendy to those kids. So through this, we were just...
Someone bought her a car or gave her a car, a minivan,
Yep.
so she would be able to transport her kids around. The church just kind of surrounded her with that. We got Keith into rehab, and
provided her love, friendship,
right.
practical things.
Yep. Yeah, we threw the baby shower for the baby, and then we threw the birthday party for the 6-year-old who was the kid who was 6 at the time. So I think it was like a year later, the kids were actually removed from her care because the courts declared she wasn't capable of caring for them. And they were placed with their dad, who was now out of Teen Challenge and clean and all of that. And this is the craziest, 6 months later, he dies in a farming accident because he works on a farm. So me and the pastor go up to where he lived with his fiance, and we get to tell these 2 boys, 8 and 10, that their dad's dead and he's not coming home after they finally got him back after all that time.
They'd lived with him for 6 months,
6 months,
when
yep.
this happened.
Yep.
And the little one, who was
2,
had just moved in November, and he died in January.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because he'd moved in separate from his other brothers.
Yep. So the kids got placed. The kids got
horrible.
placed with their grandparents, and they were raising them. But the grandparents are 66 and 67 years old, and so they're old.
And
obviously.
Grandma had progressive
And Grandma has
Parkinson's.
Parkinson's disease, so she's not healthy. And about 6 or 8 months later from that, Grandpa gets diagnosed with colon cancer. Prostate cancer. Sorry. Prostate cancer. So Grandpa, the primary caregiver, the new dad, if you will, to these kids, gets prostate cancer. And so we had been going through the process of looking at adopting some kids at this point through an organization called Ampersand, which is an adoption agency in the cities. And essentially, the grandma came to us and said, Grandpa's not willing to give the kids up yet, but if you guys would consider adopting these kids, I think in about 6 months he will be okay with it. So we kind of put pause on the adoption process, and we waited, and I think it took like 4 months. Not even.
I'd had dinner end of July, early August. He went in for we kind of, physically, you could tell his cancer had returned. And so I said, why don't we just have your kids over once a week?
For dinner.
We'll help them with their homework. They can get to know us. We'll get to know them. We'll just have fun once a week for a couple hours. So we decided, okay, once school starts, we'll start that first week of school. So that was the plan. We invited them over.
They came over for dinner on Friday, and Grandpa called and said, I'm just not feeling really up for it. Can they spend the night? So we're like, sure, we'll have a sleepover. So we had a sleepover. On Saturday, he goes, well, I got a doctor's appointment on Monday. Can they spend the weekend? And we said, sure. So at this point, sleeping bags are getting a little difficult, but we're like, we're making it work.
At this point, the kids are 10, 8, and 4.
10,
no, I'm sorry,
12,
10, and 4.
12, 10, and 4.
Yeah.
And so, so then he has his doctor's appointment on Monday, and of course, 2 months to live. It's terminal. And so the kids came over for dinner and they never left.
Yeah.
About, what was it, a couple of months after that, we had been friendly with their mom, like we mentioned. And so we kind of informed her that the kids were living with us now, which is awkward. But the kids are living with us.
She was estranged, and her
She
parents
was.
didn't want to tell her.
Yeah, I know.
They wanted her to know,
I know.
but they didn't want to tell her. So they said, well, you
I
can
know.
tell her that her dad's dying.
Yeah.
So
So we
I
told
call
her-
her up.
Yeah.
Your dad's dying, and your kids live with me now.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So, anyways,
That
we
was an awkward conversation.
yeah, for sure. So we work with her, and basically form an agreement where we will be their legal guardians and we'll adopt them. But the legal term isn't adoption, so we technically didn't adopt them, but we did. Those are our kids now. And now you see them at church with us, which, by the way, I should have prefaced this before we put it on the live stream. Our kids are pretty, they don't want to be approached about any of this stuff, so don't say anything to them. But we're pretty open about the fact that they're adopted. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But they don't like talking about their story and whatnot as much.
It's really traumatic
It's
for them.
very, well, in the course of 2 years, they lost their dad, their grandpa, and their grandma died. All three of them passed away.
Yeah.
And then they moved in with people they didn't really know all that well. And so now they're 15, 13, and 8. And now I know what God meant when he said, that's your guy. Because we had always wanted to adopt kids. And I had always wanted to have a boy or boys. And of course we had our daughter, but that's the only biological one that we have. And now we have
When
our boys.
Keith had tried to commit, he told God, he basically challenged God to prevent it. And if you prevent this, I'll give my life to you. And he did. I mean,
Yeah, pretty crazy.
there was no reason that
Yeah.
he should have lived.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. So those are our boys. We adopted them 4 years ago. And
we've gained a whole new family because we've got his
Yeah.
side of the family.
yeah,
Their aunt on their mother's side is like a sister to us. And they just never left the house. This is just like the high level details, guys. Like, I know there's been a few stories then, but through all of this, God has had, each moment, God has spoke to both of us in our own individual ways about what we need to do here. I'd always wanted a bundle of kids, and
you got it.
our first, and when we went into marriage, they say talk about these things. Of course, he wanted kids too, so that was the plan. And then he comes at me, I don't know how many years into our marriage, and was like, I don't want more kids. Christina's really difficult. I
didn't want to have more kids. I still want to do adopt.
And I was like, no, I want more kids. I wanted to enjoy pregnancy because I hadn't, because of the circumstances. And even then, I was like, okay, I'll pray. And I was praying, and God was like, it's okay. You don't need more kids. I will make you a mom in a way.
Yeah, and
I'd
I
been
think
prophesied over that I would be the mother of the neighborhood type thing, and now I have like a gaggle of kids. Just have all these, and they're all boys. We have a lot of boys. It's a lot of testosterone in our house.
yes. Yes. Boy life is totally different than girl life.
Yes.
We obviously glossed over a lot, but that is the bulk of our story. I did want to talk a little bit about kind of the biggest takeaway for me from our life together. Do you have those verses in Luke?
Yeah, I just feel like we glossed over all the awesome ways that God specifically spoke to each of us in these circumstances.
So in Luke, you guys are probably familiar with these verses, but I just want to read through them. It's going to be a little bit long, but we're getting to the end and making a point. So then one from the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." But he said to him, Man, who made me a judge or an arbitrator over you? And he said to them, Take heed and beware of covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of the things he possesses. Then he spoke a parable to them, he being Jesus, I think is pretty obvious, saying, the ground of a certain rich man yields plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do, since I have no room to store my crops? So he said to him, I will do this, I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there I will store all my crops and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have many goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, fool, this night your soul will be required of you. Then whose will those things be which you have provided? So is he who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich towards God. Then he said to his disciples, therefore I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, nor about the body, what you will put on. Life is more than food, and the body is more than clothing. Consider the ravens, for they neither sow nor reap, which have neither storehouse nor barn, and God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds? And which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit to his stature? If you then are not able to do the least, why are you anxious for the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin, and yet I say to you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. We're almost done. If then God so clothes the grass, which today is in the field and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O you of little faith? And do not seek what you should eat or what you should drink, nor have an anxious mind. For all these things the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knows that you need these things. But seek the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added to you. I think the biggest takeaway from our story and from my life over the last 30 years is that God has a plan for every one of us. He's got a plan for every one of you. And he is going to take care of your needs and the things that you, like as a human, we think, oh, how am I going to be able to pay for the house? How am I going to be able to pay for the cars? How am I going to be able to take the vacations? How am I going to be blessed? How am I going to have these things? But I think it's pretty clear here what Jesus is talking about. When we seek the kingdom of God, when we seek after his desires, that he's going to provide all those things. And the craziest part about our story is, about 10 years ago, God gave me an opportunity to start doing real estate. And at this point, she had made more money than I did every single year for most of our marriage because we were doing ministry. We never had anything. And 10 years ago, God got me into real estate. And ever since then, she's been able to quit her job. We've been able to pay off all of our debt. When we buy cars, we can pay cash for them. We've got a nest egg. I can probably retire when I'm 55 or 60 at this point. And being a 16-year-old and having no money, and having a family and having kids, and then giving everything up to go to DC, and then giving everything up to come back to Minnesota, and then doing all this stuff with ministry. It's been like, he's just shown me like, you're seeking the kingdom, and when you do that, I'm gonna take care of you. And it's not about money, because to be honest with you, my view on money is a little bit different than a lot of people. I think money's great, okay? Don't get me wrong, I've been poor rich, I like rich better. But the reality is, I look at my money as not mine. Every penny in my bank account is God's. And if he says give it and go back to poor again, what are you gonna do? And so probably every 2 months, I'm like, okay, God, are we good? I can keep it, right? For now, right? But the reality is no matter what he tells me to do, if we seek the kingdom, he's gonna take care of everything. And that has been the biggest takeaway from our story. Because the reality is, I know that if he said, yep, give it all, I'm going to be like, all right, here I'll write the check and we'll go back to month living and stress and poor. But
He's
I
never
know
that nervous. He'll
Yeah.
call me and be like, oh, I told so-and-so we'd give them this amount of money for their ministry. Can you send them
Yeah,
a
it's fun.
check? And I'm like, oh, are you okay with that? Well, you already told them.
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do now? I
usually
guess
do.
so.
I do all the time. But the reality is, when we seek his kingdom, he's going to take care of us. And I'm just telling you this, the most fun you'll ever have is when you get to give to other people. So the time she's talking about was my mentor, Brian Greenwood, put out a newsletter. He's a missionary in Thailand, so he lives in Thailand. And he put out a newsletter and he's like, hey, we want to go. Our vision for the next year is to go to this specific tribe that lives up in the mountains, and we need to raise X amount of dollars to do it, and we'd love for you to get, to give some towards that. And I got to call him, and I've told like 2 people this, so, well, it's live now, so whatever. But I called him and I'm like, Brian, how much money do you need? And he told me, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll have Kim send it over to you. And honestly, I've never had more fun in my life than being able to give that money and go, whatever they do in Thailand with that tribe up there, we got to fund the whole thing. And it was amazing. It wasn't even that much money, to be honest. It was a couple $1,000s. It was like $5,000 or something. It's not
and
that
the
much.
stories coming out of there are,
Yeah,
honey, these
Sorry.
are like 20-somethings,
Sorry.
remember?
sorry.
They're not there yet.
Sorry. But the point is that when we, sorry.
I feel like God has taken that money, though. It's like a
It's a
loaves
seed.
and fishes
It's a
type
seed.
story. I mean,
Yeah.
the impact that amount of money had in Thailand, and I mean, they've worked their way into the Buddhist government. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
amazing,
It's
and
crazy.
it's insane the things they're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
And obviously, they have other donors as well.
Yeah,
that
we're
help
not
them.
their biggest donor by any means. But the point is when God gives you that ability to do that, it's amazing. And so we think about money and we think about our resources here, and a lot of times, and this is my challenge to you guys, a lot of times, and I'm the same way, a lot of times we'll think about, well, how am I going to survive? And that's the wrong question, because God's going to make sure you survive, because we just read it, right? Jesus said it, so it's true. So the reality is when you look at your bank account, you should be looking at it going, God, this is yours. What do you want? What do you want with it? And maybe he says, keep building. And maybe he says, give. But whatever he says, if you guys do it, listen to Jesus. Because when you seek the kingdom, everything else is going to take care of. And our relationship, our ability to adopt these boys, all these things that we've been able to do, is because we try to live that out. And obviously we're not perfect. We make a lot of mistakes. We shared a bunch of them with you. But at the end of the day, when your heart truly is to seek his kingdom, God's going to take care of you guys.
Yeah. I think our takeaway of like, God, why'd you send us to DC for a year like that? We had a 12-year-old daughter. Like, who moves their like middle school daughter across the country? But nobody. Like, that's insane. But our biggest takeaway was we were so comfortable here in where we were. We weren't wealthy, but we were by that point probably like, I don't know,
Comfortable. We were comfortable.
middle class. And we were just comfortable. We didn't need to trust God. And of course, we would have said we were trusting God, and you were working at the church and all of this stuff. But when you move out of your comfort zone across the country and you parachute in, as they say, and you've got no one, that's when you really have to start trusting God. And so it's always, when we came back and reflected on that time, for both of us, we really came to the conclusion, like, one of the big reasons for that was we would have never stepped out of our comfort zone if we'd stayed here in Minnesota. Never. And since then, our life has been blessed in many, many ways. But I don't feel like we go 2 years in a comfort zone anymore without some sort of upheaval in our life.
Like boys coming over for dinner and never moving out.
Yeah. I mean, we always have people coming to us. We always have an extra room. So whether it's been a single mom needing some place to stay for a few months, or a dad getting divorced who was kicked out of his home, like, we just always have somebody staying with us. Like, it's like
Our nephew moved in with us, so we have 3 teenage boys and an 8-year-old boy living with us now.
What do they call those doors that you just
Revolving
walk?
doors.
Revolving doors. That's like our house. Like, our daughter says we adopt adults because it's just, there's always somebody coming in and out. That is not comfortable to have somebody coming in and out of your home all the time. But that's just how it is now. And Part of that, though, is also in our giving and with our money, too, is like you said, we've always seen it as God's money. And I would say that's a uniqueness between us that is something we've never really struggled with on mindset, is we've always seen it as God's money first. That's not always a common. I'm sure a lot of you out there probably struggle with, like, am I supposed to be giving? Like, I can't pay my gas for gas in my car that's, clunking down the road. And you want me to, give to some sort of ministry or something once in a while. But God has always made it work, and more so when we step out of our comfort zone. So I think that's been a big part, because he always provides for us. We don't always know how. Sometimes it's like, I don't know how I put gas in the car, but I did. Or
worked.
it made it that extra day that it normally wouldn't go, But God is faithful to come through to you if you just commit your life to him, commit to give it your all. And even if you think you are, sometimes we just fool ourselves to think like, I'm right where I need to be with God, and yet you're not. You're comfortable. And you really need to step out of that comfort zone. So I would just, I guess, challenge all of you to kind of, don't be scared sometimes to do that, because God's got so much more for you on the other side. That's really when the grass is greener, is when you step out in faith with God. Then the grass will always be greener on the other side.
I was talking to a guy whose wife wants a divorce, and he said she feels like the grass is going to be greener on the other side. And I said, the grass is green wherever you water it. So you can have a great marriage with anybody if you choose to make it great. And when you make that commitment, you're making it, you need to stick with it. And that has been something we've had to learn the hard way. 24 years. Where's Shayna? She had to step out. Okay, who's in charge?
You guys.
Yes! All right, here we go.
But also a big part, too,
never
I know
mind, she's in charge.
on the relationship side of things, sometimes it can feel like you look out in the world and it's like, oh, everybody's got a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and then there's me. Or when's my chance gonna come? Or, oh yeah, I'm in a relationship or a marriage, and it's hard. It's not easy like everybody around me. It's okay. That doesn't mean God's not with you. That doesn't mean God didn't actually still call you to this relationship you're in. There's been times we've looked at each other and been like, did God really want us to get married, or did we do it out of emotion? But not every relationship is the same. Ours has not been pretty or cookie cutter in any way imaginable. We've had it tough being single teenage parents, raising a baby, babies raising babies. It's not been easy.
But when you fight for something, when you do hard things, you get really awesome rewards. And I can honestly sit here and be like, this is literally my best friend. And I can't imagine being married to anybody else or being with anybody else. I wouldn't even want to. The idea of not having her right by my side is just like, can't even process it, can't even comprehend it. Even though we've been through, like she said, hell sometimes, there is victory on the other side of hard things.
And when you make mistakes, God can redeem those mistakes.
Clearly.
We don't by any means believe that God wanted us to be teenage parents out of wedlock. Like, that's just not biblical at all. But has God redeemed that sin of ours through the years, time and time again? 100%. And I believe he'll continue to do so in future generations. Your past doesn't have to define you. You absolutely can be redeemed. And
if you got God, you got enough.
Come on.
You and God is plenty. He can take care of anything. And we are really good walking billboards for that, because we've done enough to screw up our life, and yet here we are, like, so blessed. Like, we have amazing friends. We have amazing family. Our relationship is awesome. We've got these kids who we're able to help, who I don't even know where they would be if we weren't there. And like God has just done literally miraculous things with us.
I
The
mean-
fact that we got married was a miracle.
Yeah. But we have this one child, our oldest, you know, he adored his dad. His dad wasn't worthy of adoration at all, his earthly father. He would have said that himself. And he lost him so early. And he's hard. His heart is hardened to us, to attachment, to love, to help, everything. But we make our kids go to church with us. They don't all like it because they're teenagers and they want to sleep in. But through that, his heart has softened. Through that, he sees a lot of you guys, I'm sure, at Crunch Fitness and Max. And I know Max has spoke to him and helped him see things. And his heart is softening, you know, and he'll never know his earthly father anymore. He does not see Jeremy as a father figure. I don't think he ever will. But our prayer is that he's growing and seeing our Heavenly Father as the one and only. And that's all he really needs. It's heartbreaking, of course, that he doesn't have an earthly father. But if he's got a relationship with our Heavenly Father, he'll do okay. He'll get by, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Matt had said a couple things. I don't know how long you guys normally go. I'm assuming we're probably getting to the end here. But he had said if we wanted to open up, if anyone wanted to ask us questions, we'd be happy to do that. But if you guys are good and want to go to worship, yep.
So, throughout your whole story, I'm just seeing how you have such. It's kind of like you guys have so much faith. You're just moving from place to place. It's like.
That's a compliment.
What other figure in your life, other than Jesus, obviously, was somebody that you look up to like give you that ambition? Like, who was your kind of like role model other than Jesus?
Well,
I have
mean,
to laugh because I don't feel like we have all that faith.
Yeah, what Matt's
First of
my
all, I know we do, and we're here to talk about that, but
Matt, I always ask Matt, and he tells me where the verse is, but there's a verse that talks about do things, like I do things with fear and trembling. I can't remember where it is. That's how I feel like whenever we do this stuff. Like in the moment, you don't feel like you have faith, but I think faith is defined by what you do in those moments and when you take the action. And so it doesn't feel like faith, but when you do it in spite of your fear, like courage is action in spite of fear, right? It's kind of, for me, it's kind of the same way. Like I may not feel in the moment like I have all this faith, but when the 3 boys moved in, what are you going to do? Send them home? Like you just do it. And that's kind of been what it's been like for us. Like we just step up and go, all right, well, let's just do it and God will take care of us. And so I don't know if I mean, my dad's an amazing, amazing guy. I love my dad. He would be somebody I would look to for that.
Parents, yeah.
My parents are great.
I mean, you grew up with great parents. I joke that my mother-in-law is like, her only fault is she's too nice, and it annoys me sometimes. But you grew up always seeing your parents be kind and generous and giving of themselves to others. I can't say my parents weren't bad parents, but they weren't like, I mean,
They weren't a model of
we
faith.
didn't have an open house for anybody that wanted to come in and go or anything like that. I mean, I certainly look up to my father. He's been a big influence to me. As I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate my mom way more than I ever did as a younger girl. And I would say that continues to appreciate, that appreciation for my mom continues to grow as I get older, and I can recognize all the things she did in my life that I probably thought was just her being mean and annoying as a mom, and now I see it as her being responsible and protective.
Does that answer?
But yeah,
Kind of.
I didn't really have great examples of that kind of stuff in my life
Sure.
to really look up to. Conversely, I didn't have anyone to be like, oh, I don't want to be like them either. So it was kind of a
Yeah.
ho-hum life.
Anyone else?
Observation I see is you guys aren't wearing wedding rings.
I know.
Yeah. So we have them. I actually got mine sized last year after about 10 years of not wearing it because I had gained weight and it didn't fit. So now I just put it on when I remember, frankly. And
I had a titanium one.
Yeah.
And I like hurt my finger and I couldn't get it off. And then I read somewhere that when that happens, they cut your finger off. So I have never put a wedding ring back on since that day. But we've talked about buying one or whatever, but I don't know. We haven't worn them for a long time. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Is that bad?
I still
Like I
look
said,
at
it's just not
Yeah.
Yeah, I still look at mine.
We're still married, though.
And see it as this great symbol of our marriage and all that a wedding ring represents. I still look at it when I put it on and remember all the thought that went into it when you purchased it. And to
I
me,
hate
it's the
jewelry.
most.
I
To
don't
me,
wear a
it's the
watch
most
either.
beautiful ring in the world, and now it's outdated to all the styles today. But to me, I would never, ever want to upgrade my wedding ring. Like, that original stands for something, and I could never. I know it's kind of trendy these days to get a new wedding ring as you get older, more money. I could never see myself doing that. That seems weird to me.
Any other observation?
Observations, questions?
I got a question. I love what you said about like you see, I guess your finances like this isn't mine, like that stewardship mentality. Like all that I have is the Lord's, and so I've got a question about that. Like, what does that look like practically, like on a day-to-day basis? Like, what goes through your head like that?
When I said like every couple of months, I literally talk to God about it. I'm being literal. I'd say every 6 to 8 weeks, I'm literally like, okay, God, I don't ever want my money to be mine. So do you want me to give it, or are we keeping it for now? And it's always keeping it for now. Someday it'll be give it all. I don't know, maybe, who knows? But it's pretty much a monthly conversation that I have, and I think that helps keep me in check, too. It helps prevent me from viewing it improperly.
I would say for me, practically, we do tithe to the church. When we give our 10%, when we feel led, we absolutely help with things. Being in leadership through lots of churches, I can't tell you how much stuff we've purchased over the years, and we certainly could seek reimbursement. We don't, because it's God. Like, it's just, who cares? It does. God will figure it out for us. When I kind of feel like we have our giving on auto pay, like probably most of you, if I feel like I'm not connected to that, I'll turn that off and go back to giving. So, even if it's still online giving, I have to intentionally put in the numbers. And, in that moment, it forces me to like, hey, God, thank you for the ability to give this money back to you. So that's kind of how I check in and make sure that I'm staying grounded in it.
It also means being responsible with it. So, like, if I can find a cheaper way to get the same result, I'm going to do it.
He's just
So
cheap.
I am frugal. It helps. But, like, I'm never going to own a brand new car because I know I drive it off the lot and it's worth thousands of dollars less. So I'll buy the car that has 20,000 miles for $10,000 less dollars and be happy because it's basically a new car. And so to me, being that way is also a part of being a good steward, because you don't have to have a brand new car. You'll live if your car starts with 20,000 miles. Trust me, I've done it. It's not that big of a deal. But you save all that depreciation. So it's just being smart with your money too is a good way to do that, I think. I use all the apps for all the restaurants. Save tons of money.
Also,
I'm cheap.
he just really likes fast food. He doesn't like sit-down restaurants. He doesn't like fancy
That helps.
restaurants. He only likes chain
Chipotle.
restaurants. It's so boring.
Chipotle.
Girls, let me tell you, if I could have a slightly more romantic husband, I would. I wouldn't have a slightly more romantic. I would make you more romantic in that
Sure.
way. I wouldn't change you.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
would-
Let's do it. Anything else? All right. Carly,
Oh,
How did you work through like you said you struggled a lot with feeling like being scared of failure. How did you work through that?
I would say that it is a daily struggle for me still, even with raising my kids. I'm like, am I doing this good enough? Am I doing this right? What if they, don't turn out right or whatever? It's something that I would say that I have to give it to God. I have a list of scripture next to my bedside that I keep on a clipboard. Also of just like personal affirmations that when I'm really feeling down and I'm like, I don't even know what to say or pray, I just pick up that clipboard because it's written out there for me that tells me I'm not a failure, that God can do something with me. But truly, to this day, I struggle with those fears of rejection. I do still deal with some anxiety and depression, that I really just have to trust God in. And truly, I don't know why I've not been healed of those things, of depression, anxiety. But I do know that I'm not ashamed of them any longer. I don't feel like I'm a failure because I struggle with them. I do know that I will use whatever I go through to glorify God. And if I'm ashamed of what I'm going through in those ways, then I can't glorify God because nobody knows I'm dealing with it. And they feel all alone in their walk. And the truth is, we're not. So many people these days, more than any other generation, are dealing with those things, amongst many other things. I also am diagnosed with ADHD, and so then I have that kind of going on too at times, feeling like, why can't I just I'm motivated in my brain, but my body just wants to sit here, and now I'm annoyed with myself because my kitchen is overflowing with dirty dishes. And yet I'm hyper fixated on something that doesn't need to be done. So if you struggle with these things, the struggle's real, right? So, it's just something that I've just said, God, I don't know why I'm dealing with these things still. I still believe I will receive my healing. When that comes, I don't know. And honestly, I've gotten to the point that I don't really care to know when it comes, because I'm just going to use it in the meanwhile to glorify God and to help others to know that they are still loved. You are still loved. You are still redeemable. Do I think those things are of the Lord? Do I think that He wants us to have freedom in those things? 100% I do. But I don't beat myself up over it anymore either. So, because that was not helping me and that was making it worse, which really, I think, it was tough. And it still is tough. Jeremy has a very different view on mental health that we've had to work through a lot over the years. I would say that's been a big part of our story too, is just differing views on that stuff. Trying to figure that stuff out. Yeah, good question. Any more?
What advice would you give a newly married couple?
ooh, don't quit.
I would
The grass is greener where you water it.
I would say if you don't have children yet, don't rush to have children. Truly, truly enjoy getting to know your spouse. You as an individual are going to change so much as a married person now. And change in a good way, right? And that's not bad, but we have to leave room for that growth. And it's really difficult when you're raising a child and you're still going through all these changes too, and you're trying to teach a child to be mature and to do all these things when you yourself are still morphing. So that's one of the things that I do advise is don't rush to have children if you don't already have one. If you do already have children, don't quit. Trust in the Lord.
The grass is greener where you water it.
Yeah, you know, it is difficult. It's hard when you have kids. You don't get the same
Yep.
amount of alone time and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things just from our own personal experiences
Yeah.
that definitely impacts my advice.
Yeah, and I think the question's a good question. I think the answer is for a lot of situations, which is follow Christ. And what does he tell us to do? He tells us to crucify our flesh and serve others. And when you're married, it's your primary service right here is to love and care for. And the Bible, Ephesians 5, talks about, husbands, respect your wives. Or I'm sorry, wives, respect your husbands. Husbands, love your wives the way Christ loved the church, which that's deep. If you think about the way Christ loved the church, because he was literally God in heaven and gave it up to come here as a man, to be crucified, to die for our sins. Try and match that as a husband towards your wife. You're on the right track. And, for the guys, you've got to put in the work. You got to put in the effort. You got to love her the way Christ loves the church.
I also would have never recommended this when I was 20-something married, but find an older couple that you can be honest with, that can mentor you, that can speak wisdom into you as individuals and you as a couple. I think that's really
It's huge.
important.
You guys, honestly, you guys should have mentors, period. Married, single, don't care. Get a mentor. Get someone who's willing to invest in you, to speak truth to you when you don't want to hear it. Brian, my friend, he says, I'm not your mentor, we're friends. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, you're my mentor. Like, if I'm doing something stupid, he smacks me and says, stop doing something stupid, do something better. He says, do something hard, stop being a baby. You need a guy who's willing to tell you that. Because as a man, we got to suck it up sometimes, and we got to just deal with what's coming. And, when we don't, we create hardships for ourselves.
I wouldn't say that's just a man thing, though. I think women need
I'm
women
not going
in
to
their
tell
life.
women to suck it up.
No, but women need women in their life too. That
I tried that when we were first married. That's why it was hell.
Men, do not ever tell your wife to just
Oh,
stop crying.
Let me tell the story.
Okay,
let me
not
tell
a
him.
good
Let
thing.
me tell him the story. I wasn't going to tell this story. We were married for like a year, and I told you guys I had anger issues.
I don't even think it was that long.
It wasn't even maybe 6 months, and we got into a fight, and we laid down in bed, and
I'm bawling.
No, you weren't bawling yet. She was sniffling. She was like, and every time she went, I'm like, the blood's boiling, and I'm getting more mad, and she's like, and all of a sudden I go, would you stop crying? Just like that, and then just bawling.
It was not effective.
It did not work well. I wouldn't advise it. It was stupid.
Well, I don't think you've ever really said that again to me.
No,
at least not in that way.
no.
But going back, I think women too often in our society, especially as women, as caregivers, we have been brought up to just be very sympathetic, and that has created an environment where we aren't challenging each other either. And sometimes we do need to be told, you know what? It's time to pull up your big girl panties and just go at it. Like, you just need to do it. And it's gonna be hard, and you're not gonna like it, and it's gonna be dirty, but this is life, and you gotta do it. And so I think it's important that we have that too. I think we just need it said in a different way, right?
By older women, not men.
Yeah, and not by men.
So yes, get a mentor. Get people in your life who have permission to help you, because it is to help you. If you find someone willing to invest in you, that's gold, guys. That is literally gold. Because they don't have to. They can go do their own thing. You know, life's easier when you're not doing it. So if someone's willing to do that, you should do it.
I'm going to give some unsolicited
Oh,
advice
okay.
on the theme of what advice would you give newlyweds to people in this room that are dating or engaged. I would say to them, talk about how, we are always like, oh, talk about how do you want kids, or what they don't tell you is, how do you budget? How do you do your finances? You guys need to be aligned in that. How do you plan to discipline your children? We were very different in that regard, and it created a lot of chaos both for us and our daughter. She got off scot-free a lot, and she suffers today because of it, and she'll admit that because she didn't have the discipline in her life she needed. How do you plan to discipline your children? How do you budget? What do you value is important in life? I think, yes, we need the foundation of love, and we need the foundation of God's calling in our relationship. But there's some really practical things that we don't really cover that are going to impact you when you get married or when you have children. And those are some of the things that lead to divorce, is, well, I just couldn't handle the way he disciplined my children. He was too rough with them, or she was too submissive with them and didn't do anything, And let me tell you, it hurts the kids. It hurts you, it hurts your marriage. I mean, there's just some practical things like, go beyond the gushy, do you love each other? Do you agree on the number of kids you want? It's not that simple, right? There's so much more. So I would really, again, seek some wisdom of older couples that have been married. What did you find out after marriage or after kids that you argued about that maybe we should be discussing before we get married to make sure we're on the same page? Because if you're not before you get married, you're not going to be on the same page afterwards.
Have hard conversations.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to bring up something because I feel like a lot of guys struggle with this. I do struggle a lot with anger issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's like a common theme. And especially in marriage, like it's harder. Like, if you have kids, like, I watched my dad go through all this. Like, how did you get through that? 'Cause I feel like that's going to help.
It was a lot of intentional praying. So I think sometimes we feel stupid when we ask God for something simple, and God's up there. Remember the verses that say, knock, the door will be opened, ask and you will find, or seek and you'll find, ask and answer. Like, it was as simple as, God, I hate this part of me. I hate the fact that I lose my temper. And I want you to, I would get emotional, and I'd be like, I want you to burn that out of me. Take that away. I hate it. And it took a long time of just being vulnerable with God and asking him to deal with it and help me kill that side of me. I mean, when it says crucify your flesh, it means kill it, right? Crucifixion is killing. So kill the side of me that doesn't align with what you want me to do. I want it gone. I hate it. And when you actually begin to hate it, you start to resist it a lot more than if you just passively dislike it. Like when I hated her, I was much more active. When I passively disliked her, it was whatever, But you have to grow to hate sin because it literally is killing you, whether you realize it or not. It doesn't feel like it in the moment because sin feels good sometimes, and then it's also destroying you from the inside out. And the consequence of it is destruction. And so learn to hate it. It's okay to hate sin. All right. We good?
I just want to thank you guys so much for speaking, and the Lord is actually leading me to pray over you guys, to have all of us in agreement before we invite the worship team up. So if all of you could just stretch out your hand.
Yeah.
Lord, I just thank you so much for Jeremy and Kim, and Lord, I thank you for their honesty and their vulnerability tonight in sharing. Lord, I ask that that these stories would be memories that people in this room walk out with, that when they face similar situations, that they can be brought back to these moments and brought to your truth of, God, how do I trust you? How do I lean into you, Lord? Lord, I thank you for these moments tonight, that you will continue far beyond tonight. And Lord, I pray just your blessing upon Jeremy and Kim in their marriage, in their family, in the next season of life that they're going through. Lord, I ask that you would just pour out your blessing in abundance, Lord. I ask for the pieces of their story that hasn't been redeemed yet. Lord, I ask for your redemption to start even tonight.
Yes.
That just as they could look back in hindsight over different moments of their life, that in 10 years from now, they can look back and see all the wonderful things you have done from this moment forward.
Amen.
And Lord, I just ask you for more opportunities
Yeah.
for them to share your goodness and your abundance and your faithfulness in their life, Lord. So I pray this over them, and we bless them in your name, in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Yes. Amen. Thank you.
Yeah, we're just gonna welcome up the worship team, and we'll have some of our prayer leaders out here. If any of you guys have been struggling with anything that is related to their story, or honestly anything, if you